What's going on, guys? My name's Kyle, and today's video is going to be about how to price your Amazon FBA product. So before we get into the Amazon specifics, I just want to go over an overview of pricing in general. And there's generally two schools of thought. There's the high-end, exclusive, nice products that charge premiums for products. And then there's products that you would find maybe in like a Walmart or some type of mass supply store that they have cheaper products, but then they sell a lot of them. So with those cheaper products, like I just said, you have to sell a lot of them. That's the only way that they make their money. So Walmart, for example, they probably have really small margins, or the amount of money that they make after costs for their products. But because they have so much volume and such high amounts of products that they're selling, that they're able to make money that way. Now, that can be difficult for a new Amazon seller, just because in order to make money, they have to have huge turnover and they have to be able to have all that inventory up front so that they can, sell all those products. And then the alternative is, what you see maybe at like a more of a like boutique shop, or, a higher quality shop, or higher quality, not necessarily higher quality, but they have a higher price point at least. And they have to sell much less, but their markup is much higher per product, and so they make their money that way. And so I have a little Excel sheet just to kind of, represent or show that a little bit better. And basically, so we have, let's say you have an Amazon product, and the total cost for you is $10, okay? Just to make it easy. And then you can decide on what price point you want to put it at, either $20 or $11, let's say. And so a lot of people will think, okay, well, I want to charge just a little bit. I'll undercut the competition and I'll do the, just $11 because that's where I'm making money still. And the reason why that's not, usually it's not even, you should never do that really. Is because it takes so much more volume to make it like your profit. And so, for instance, with a price point of $20, the higher price point, you only need to sell one to make your $10, versus if you have an $11 price point, you have to sell 10, right? For the same amount of profit for that. So it makes a lot more sense for the Amazon niche in general, especially when you're first starting out. When you don't have a lot of capital to be investing in huge amounts of inventory, is you want to have large margins and sell less rather than have really small margins and try to do high volume. And it's really hard to do successfully for companies. Walmart's huge and they do a really good job at doing that type of thing, but most companies are not successful doing that. And the reason is because margins are so small. If there's any unexpected fees, or you're paying extra costs that you don't foresee, you're going to be losing your margins and losing money, and it's always like really tight. So if you have those bigger margins, it gives you a little bit more leeway if you make mistakes, or if you don't foresee certain costs, or if something happens, you have that like leeway in your profits. So one example of what happens when you do make the mistake of putting your price too low is what happened with the Angleizer template tools niche. And so basically what happened was people were selling these for about $20, and it costs about $2 or $3 to make. And so people were making like $10 to $15 per sale of these Angleizer template tools. And so people saw that, and they wanted to get in on that, high margins. And a lot of, I think it was a lot of newer sellers just went in and they were like, okay, well, I don't know how to improve this design, and so I'll just cut the price and then I'll be able to get all the sales. And what happens when you cut the price is that it becomes like this race to the bottom, meaning that everyone's trying to get the cheapest price they can for their customers, and that way they'll get the sales. Now the issue with that is that now, instead of having these big profit margins, each sale you're getting, you're maybe only making 50 cents or $1, or you could be losing money. I know some people were losing money with every sale they made. And so it isn't a good strategy when you're entering into the market to go for that low cost, or that not low cost, the low price points, because one, it could just completely destroy the market if you have a lot of like newer sellers that just don't understand and everyone just races to the bottom. So everyone's losing money at that point. Or the alternative is that you're just kind of cutting yourself short of money that you could be making. It's always a lot better to put yourself as like, oh, this is the, nicer version of whatever's on the market now. I added value in some way. And so that way I'm able to charge a premium. I'm making more money. And I don't have to worry about trying to race to the bottom with other people because I have more value added to my product. Okay. So a great example of that was in this niche. Originally, it was all just the plastic tools. Okay. They were all plastic. And so it evolved from that to, there was like a select few at one time. I think there was like 2 or 3 sellers selling metal anglizer tools. Okay. And so because of that, it cost them maybe, instead of a few dollars, it cost them like $5. So instead of $3, it cost them $5, but they were able to charge double on here. So instead of, the price dropped. People are selling these for like $10, $10 to $15 at that point probably. They were selling their metal ones for $30. So the extra like $2 that they spent on the front end to have a higher quality product and adding in that value, they got an extra $10 on the backside. And so there's this huge multiple that you get with your profits if you're able to add that value, and then you charge much more on the backside on your storefront. Okay, so that was greatly shown with this niche, just because people were charging $30 for just a $2 improvement that they were able to do. And so because of that, they were able to not only differentiate and then grab more sales because it's just a better product in general. People are willing to spend more for that extra value, even if the value is not proportionate to the markup. They just want the better product. Okay, people want things that are going to work well for a long time, and they want quality products. Okay, so that's a huge way to kind of do well in the Amazon market in general, is when you're differentiating. But even if you can't figure out a way to add a ton of value to a specific product, you can even just take really good pictures and have an excellent listing, and that kind of represents a higher quality product. And the reason why that is because when you're shopping online, you don't have the product in front of you and you can't grab it and figure it out. Oh, okay, this looks nice, this seems sturdy. All you have to go off of is reviews and the pictures that are provided, right? So that's why pictures are just so vital to the success of your product, is because no one knows what the product is really besides the pictures. Even if you have really good bullet points and a title, that's all just words at the end of the day, and people like to see what they're buying. Okay, so that excellent picture, as well as if you can add value, will go a long way. And then when you do that, you can demand a higher price point for your product. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, okay, well, I can't really add too much value. Everyone already has really good pictures, so it's difficult for my specific product. I'm just going to undercut them, and that will be my way of making more money, or getting more sales at least, because I have a cheaper price. Wrong. Okay, so when you have a cheaper price, even let's say you have the exact same product, and your competitor's listing at $25, and you're like, okay, I can still make money at $19.99. I'm going to go sell at $19.99. Now the issue is that there's something called perceived value. And if you haven't heard of that, basically it means that when people are looking at different products, they have a perceived value in their head of how much it's worth because of certain things that are either added or just because of the price point itself. So if you have the exact same product, one of them's listed at that $5 more, there's that perceived value. They think it's a better product because it's listed at a higher price, even if it's the exact same product. And they could, there's probably some slight differentiation. Obviously you have different brands, but if someone sees that, the price point's higher, they just automatically expect it to be a better quality, item. A good example is, there's branding involved, but with, shoes, for example, Nike has a huge brand presence, but they charge premiums for their shoes, and oftentimes there's other shoes that are probably coming from like similar factories, similar build quality. But at the end of the day, even if they're like a quarter of the price, no one's going to buy them because, Nike's demand that higher price point. Now, obviously, there's like a lot more going on with that specific case because, Nike's a huge brand. But at the end of the day, it's there's that perceived value associated with having a that high price point. People think that it's worth that much when in reality they probably spent the exact same amount of money on that shoe as the smaller shoe provider that's costing a quarter or at least to the consumers. So bringing it all back to your specific Amazon product, what you need to do is go into your niche and check it out. See, obviously if you can add value to your listing somehow, do that and your product itself. But look at the different prices. You never want to just go in and go for the lowest price. You're cutting yourself short of a lot of, profit that you could have. And, obviously experiment a little bit, a couple dollars up, a couple dollars down. Myself and friends of mine that have sold on Amazon actually saw better sales when they increased their price versus having a lower price point, just because of that perceived value that I was talking about, and people thinking it's a better product at that higher price point. Okay, so definitely think about having that higher price point when you go in. Obviously, that doesn't work for everything. You don't want like a super high price point, but you have to mess around with it a little bit. But you never want to go into a niche and just be like, oh, okay, I'll be the cheap product, because that just doesn't work well for you. Even if you're getting like okay sales, I mean, you have to sell so much more in order to be profitable. And unless you have a huge quantity that you ordered initially, it just doesn't make sense. You're better off, let's say you order 300 and you sell one a day, but you're making $10 versus if you sell 10 a day making $1. It makes more sense to just sell less per day. That way you're not wasting all of your inventory. You don't have to order it as often, and it just works out better for newer sellers. Now, obviously, if you have a ton of capital and you want to take that route of trying to, emulate the Walmart, game plan for selling online, you can of course try, but it just doesn't make sense for most sellers online. So I'd highly recommend trying to get that higher value product in and, starting off with that higher price point. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and that helps with, setting the price for your Amazon product. I'll see you guys in the next video.